All right, here is a quick overview, hopefully a quick overview. Um, though sometimes on interesting properties they get a little longer, and this is a really interesting property. It's a 5 acre tract outlined in red here, directly borders Shannon County Road 421, gravel road along its west side, and directly borders the Rocky Creek Conservation Area for about 180 feet along its entire east side. So you literally have access from the property directly into the conservation area. And also, the conservation area, if you look down here, borders the Mark Twain National Forest. So, I mean, you have physical access not only into the conservation area, which is public land, but cross over that and you're in the national forest. So you've got tens of thousands of acres of public land that directly border this property, which is really great. Not only is it tricky to find property that actually borders public land, but it's exceedingly hard to find property that borders public land and has good county road access. Because a lot of the public land is remote, access can be on easement roads or forest roads, which are often basically not maintained at all. This happens to have county road frontage and the conservation land frontage, so it's so super rare property. It's also 5 acres, which is a great size because it gives you plenty of room to set up a campsite or set up your cabin or possibly your home. And still, yeah, I mean, you've got options on this property if you wanted to kind of go toward the road, or if you wanted to be more private in the middle or closer to the conservation area. You've got all those options, and then you can obviously hunt your own property. And with 5 acres properly managed in this area, you'll have great luck hunting for deer and turkey. But you also have access into all that conservation land and national forest, which is generally open for hunting as well as trail riding, and not to mention the rivers and creeks and all that good stuff in the area. But first, let's zoom in here. We'll take a look at this. This is the MapRight program, by the way, that we've been using a couple years. This is the full version, so I can do some different stuff with base maps. You can download the free MapRight app. They'll probably, try to get you to buy a subscription. You definitely don't have to. You just get the free app, and then we can email you the direct link for this particular map. And that's useful because then if you make the drive out here to check out the property or the area, you can open that link on your whatever device has the MapRight app, and not only will this actual map pop up, but there'll be a little colored dot to indicate right where you are. So it works off the GPS on your phone. So you can be on County Road 421 heading north. Oh, we're there. Oh, we're heading east. Oh, here's the conservation land. All with phone in hand or tablet in hand. So we use it all the time. We like it a lot. Okay, let's zoom in here. Actually, let's zoom out a little bit, and let's switch to the topo layer, topo map. Okay, so if you're familiar with topo maps, this probably makes some sense. If you're like most people, including myself a few years ago, this made no sense at all, but I can read a topo map now. Basically, it's showing the change in elevation of the ground, and on this particular map, the elevation change between two lines is 20 feet. So what it means is the closer the lines are, the steeper a property it is, and the further apart they are, the flatter it is. So let's look at the west side of this property. Here we've got the county road. You can see basically no lines here on the far west side. It's basically flat on the west side. As you go back in, it does rise up fairly sharply. I mean, I would call that steep. If you say look up here, there's a tract up here to the north, several hundred feet to the north. This is what I would call pretty steep here. See how close those lines are? That's rising up quickly. This is not as bad. I mean, this would be walkable. You could certainly put a drive in. What the dozer operator would do, he would start at the top, probably either from the north or south, and he would go down diagonally. And it's super common around here because a lot of people want to be up higher for privacy and to get the views. So that's something you could do on this property. But here's what's nice about it. You've got the level area, it rises up, and then you have this huge flat area right in the middle. Excuse me. So really convenient if you want a big private site. I mean, you're right in the middle. You're well off the road, several hundred feet off the road, and you've actually got great access here into the conservation land. So even as you go toward the east, you've got a little draw here, which is kind of a miniature valley. That would not be an extreme valley at all looking at this map, but it goes from perfectly flat to actually rising up a little bit as you get over here. Here at the southeast corner would technically be the highest, although this appears to be pretty darn level here along the east border. But I mean, you just have a whole lot of options on this one, which is great. It's pretty cool to have a 5-acre tract that has a little bit of everything. And if we switch back to the Google map, we can get a pretty good look at the tree cover. Let's zoom in here. That shows it. That shows it pretty well, actually. I'm going to try the satellite layer, and that's useful as well because this is a little later in the fall, so we can see the reds and oranges, which would be the hardwood trees, and then as you're looking at the green, those are likely going to be pine trees. Just looking at this photo, that would be my best guess. And there is some nice pine on this property. So over here toward the east side, probably the better pines. Although here where it's flat in the middle, it looks like a mixture of small trees and some larger trees as well. Let's go back to the Google map, which was taken at a different time of year. And that's showing it pretty well. I mean, just a splendid property. We didn't see any signs of recent logging. We generally say that basically every property has been logged at some point, but I mean, we didn't see any recent stumps. If there was logging out here, it was years ago. You've got trees from small to medium to big mature trees on this property. And obviously the direct access into the conservation land is fantastic. Let's zoom out a little bit quickly. As long as we're doing this, let's do it right. Okay, so here we go. So on this MapRight program, since we have the full version, you can do different layers, what they call layers, and we put on the layer to show the public land. So it's using this light blue to indicate basically state forest, state conservation land, so that's the Rocky Creek Conservation Land. It's using this green to indicate federal public land, so that's the Mark Twain National Forest. So you can see you can go from the property that said pipeline. There's no pipeline there. To draw that arrow, we use the pipeline the pipeline function and hand drew the arrow. So yeah, don't worry, there's no pipeline there. Straight in the conservation land, you can go into the Mark Twain National Forest. I mean, you can go miles and miles and miles from the property through all this public land to all these rivers and all these creeks. You can actually go to the Peck Ranch Conservation Area, which is where the Missouri Department of Conservation released a large herd of wild elk a few years ago. They're trying to populate the Ozarks with an elk population. So I mean, that's pretty cool. As we go out a little more, these purple areas indicate scenic riverways by two of the most popular rivers in the state of Missouri, if not, in the nation. This is the Jacks Fork River, just to the northwest of the property, a few miles, runs up through the town of Eminence, and then connects with the Current River and runs back down. I think the Current then runs through Van Buren and maybe hooks up with the 11 Point. I'm not sure about that. But if we zoom out a little more really quickly here, just to show you kind of where we are in the Ozarks. Okay, so this little red dot here, that's the property. We've got the town of West Plains over here. If you go to the east, you've got Poplar Bluff. Go up to the north, you're only 2.5 or 3 hours, I would guess, from St. Louis. So that's not a long drive. Straight west, you've got Springfield, Missouri, which is the largest city in southern Missouri. All you have to do to get to Springfield is go south about 3 miles to Highway 60, and then shoot straight west all the way into Springfield. It's all 4-lane. It's an easy drive. It takes about an hour and a half, and a lot of little towns along the way as well. Branson is just south of Springfield, which is pretty cool. And the one thing I skipped was the nearby towns, so let's do that really quickly here. Okay, so to get to the property from Birch Tree, you go east on 60 a couple miles. Then you'll go north and see the listing for the specifics. You'll definitely want to print all that stuff out. But you go north about 3.5 miles on the gravel and you're at the property. So closest towns, Birch Tree has a couple good gas stations, at least one big truck stop thing. It's got a Dollar General store, which is handy. Mountain View is probably more popular for shopping because it has the Walmart. It's got quite a few more stores than Birch Tree does. So that's going west. Going east, you've got, I think right here would be the town of Winona, which is a little bit bigger than Birch Tree, but not as big as Mountain View. And then going further east, honestly, I've never really been that way. Let's see. I don't know what you run into. I know eventually you get to Poplar Bluff. Oh, Van Buren is not too far to the east. So that's a little bigger than Winona, I believe. I'm not sure. There we go. Great property, super small private development. This is called, I believe it's called the Tracts at the Rocky Creek Conservation Area. There are a very limited number of tracts. This is not a 2,000 tract development or anything. I think there's like 15 tracts, maybe even less than that. So beautiful little small area. Standard property covenants in place to keep everything looking nice. Basically, if you're going to build any kind of standard home or cabin on a foundation that's at least 600 square feet, then the property covenants probably don't affect you at all, but they keep the area looking good, which is what most people are interested in, so you can check those out on the listing page. If you have any problems or questions or whatnot, just let us know. Sales@instantacres.com, or you can call us in the office. But ultimately, just go to our website at instantacres.com. That'll show you what's available. And if this property is still available, we'd love to talk to you about it. If not, then hopefully we have something else that you'll love just as much.